All right, everyone. Good afternoon. It is 4:30, so we will go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight. It's been a while since we have done a webinar together and with the eMediaVA group. So it's great to be here with you guys this afternoon, and hope that everyone is having a great week and a great November so far. Lots going on, but hopefully, everything is going well in your neck of the woods. So tonight we're excited. This is the first time that we are covering this webinar topic. So we're excited about presenting it to you and hope that you find everything we're going to talk about tonight beneficial and that you can walk away with an idea, a strategy, a resource, or maybe a new EdTech tool that you can use this week or sometime throughout the year. So we're going to be talking about app smashing with eMediaVA or basically any type of digital media you can do this with, but we'll be looking at lots of different EdTech tools, some you might be familiar with, some that are new to you, and talk about some different ways that you can use eMediaVA resources specifically or digital media in general to really increase engagement and better personalized learning. The reasons for doing this go on, and we'll talk about some of those as we go on. So to kick off, we wanted to introduce ourselves. And so I'll go first. I am Lindsay, and I am the eMediaVA manager at WHRO Public Media. So we are the NPR PBS affiliate for Southeastern Virginia, Region 2, Superintendent's Region 2 area. But eMediaVA is a free resource for the entire state. So that's why, we're joined by people all over the state, and we love to work and do trainings with everyone wherever you're located. So before joining the WHRO team, I was a high school social studies teacher for a number of years in Newport News Public Schools, and still live here in Newport News. So Janie, do you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Janie Everett. I'm the Educational Technology Manager at WHRO. My main responsibility is professional development, like we're doing tonight. So my email is on the screen, and if you're interested in any professional development opportunities after today for your school or division, go ahead and reach out to me. I'm happy to do that. And before going to WHRO, I was an elementary teacher. I taught first, second, and fifth grade at a few different schools in Virginia. And then I was also an instructional technology specialist before heading on over to WHRO.
And we always like to share this map because Janie and I both taught in school districts that are local to WHRO, and this is something that we didn't really quite understand until we actually came to work at WHRO. But we are the only public media station in the country that is owned by our local school division. So we are owned by the 21 school districts that you see highlighted in yellow here, some larger divisions, some smaller divisions. We report out to their superintendents. We have a lot of committees, and we have a lot of educational offerings, maybe more than even your local public media station. One of which is eMediaVA. And as I mentioned, it is a resource for the entire state, thanks to funding through the Virginia Department of Ed, but initially started as a resource just for these local owner school divisions. So it's something we're very proud of, that close relationship that we have with our local teachers and leadership in the schools. So before we dive in, just some common questions. We are recording this. So the recording and the slides will be shared with you. We have a QR code at the end, and we will also email this out to everyone who has registered. So if you'd rather wait for the email, please feel free. Please ask questions if you have any thoughts. If there are apps or resources that you're using or you have ideas, please feel free to drop them in the chat. Anything like that is going to be good for the good of all of us. And as Janie already mentioned, we love to do training. So that's part of our job. We can do this training with your school, with your district. We can talk about eMediaVA generally. We can just talk social studies. We can talk media literacy, digital citizenship. As former teachers, we really love being in the schools and being with you guys. So just something to keep in mind. We'd love to come to your PD day. And always reach out to us. Our emails are linked in the slide deck. So with our time together this afternoon, a few different things. We're going to discuss the importance of using a variety of learning resources. So, some of the benefits of using different ed tech tools with our students. We will look at some different ways that you can use eMediaVA. We'll look at some videos, some interactive collections, some different types of resources that we have in our content library. We'll also just very briefly talk about what eMediaVA is if you're not sure. 4, but then we will spend most of our time here with number 3. We're going to be looking at some different types of EdTech tools and apps and different ways that you can use digital media with those apps to present information, whatever it is you teach, pre-K through 12th grade, any content to your students and make it more engaging, make it a more personalized learning experience for them. So before we dive in, we would love to hear from you guys in the chat. How do you consume media? And most likely you are going to have more than one, right? And our students are no different, right? But we would love to hear from you in the chat. Maybe you could pick just the one or maybe the top 3 ways that you consume media. And Janie and I will participate too. But again, we would love to hear in the chat, what are your favorite ways to do that? Okay, so we see podcasts.
I put my answer in the chat. I think I use all of these at one point or another, but my main one for sure is podcasts, hours of podcasts per day of all different types.
Yes, a lot of overlap between everyone, right? Podcasts, TV, social media. I'm a huge reader, so I love to read. I might always have, even sitting here while I'm on this webinar working, it's just second nature now. I always have my Kindle near me.
And I love, in the chat, we're seeing all sorts of different answers. Everyone is choosing something different. Most of you are choosing more than one option. And that's the same for our students too, right? They all have different preferred learning methods, and some of them like to learn more than one way throughout the day. So, it's kind of up to us to make sure that the media we're producing for our kiddos isn't just monotone and boring and the same every day. We want to give them a variety of different resources to choose from and to be able to utilize. And that's where eMediaVA comes into play, because Lindsay is going to show you today that there are a lot of different types of great resources in there.
Thanks, guys, for sharing. So we'll talk a little bit about eMediaVA, what it is. We're not going to go too deep. I just thought I would show you around the homepage, and then I'll hand it over to Janie. And Janie's going to talk us through some different resources and some of the different EdTech tools that we'll be looking at today. So again, as we already mentioned, we'd love to hear from you guys. If you're using any of these, if you have any questions, please drop those in the chat. So if you're not familiar with eMediaVA, we refer to ourselves as Virginia's premier content library. So we are a digital media streaming library. It's a public-facing site. So not quite like YouTube, but just like you would go to YouTube, you could come to eMediaVA and do a search. You could use filters to find a variety of different interactive digital media resources to use with your students. So just like other sites, we are especially heavy on our video content, but we also have lots of interactives, which are games, labs, simulations, DBQs, primary sources. We also have podcasts. Our station produces podcasts, but then we also have nationally known podcasts from NPR and PBS, as well as local and state partners. So really, we hope that any type of media you might want to use with your students pre-K through 12th grade, that we're going to have something on that topic. And if not, we would love to hear from you so that we can procure it and make it as easy as possible for Virginia teachers and educators to use our resources. So just a few things here that we always like to point out. You can stream videos, assign interactive resources to your students. One of my favorite things about the site is you can create your own collections. So I used to do this when I was in the classroom. I had a unit. I had a collection for each unit. So if I came across something cool, I could save it from year to year. I would also use it to do stations and different rotation activities with my students and have different resources for them to look at and talk about based on a collection that I had created in eMediaVA. I did teach in Newport News, as I mentioned, in a local school division. So were and still are a big user of eMediaVA. But those are just some ideas of how you can use collections. One of the most unique things is you can search by standard. So we are only a Virginia resource. We don't deal in national standards. So that makes it really easy to find what you're looking for based on what you're teaching. We update the new standards very quickly. So the math standards that have rolled out recently are already updated in eMediaVA. So we try to take that really seriously to make it easy for you guys to find our content. And no matter what LMS you're using, we have an embed code on everything. So that makes it very easy to use our resources. Logging in, as I mentioned, we are a public facing site. So if you prefer not to be logged in, if you just want to stream, you are welcome to. But if you are, wanting to create collections or save resources, that's where having an account comes in handy. If you are a division that uses a single sign-on like Clever, ClassLink, some divisions use a Google integration. Most likely that's how you access our site. But other divisions, do different things. So basically, we always recommend going to our login page. You can see a screenshot here, searching for your school, and it will tell you how to log in. And if it's like, we don't have anything set up for your division, you can reach out. It takes us 2 seconds to create an account for you if you would like one. And someone mentioned subs, which we are hearing that a lot, that, there's a lot of different resources. You can create collections and leave those for subs as an easy way to move through resources with your students. So um, I'm going to show you the homepage first, and then we'll come back to the slide before I hand it over to Janie. Like I said, we're not going to go too deep into this, but just wanted to show you around a little bit. So you can search by keyword, you can search by standard and use that to filter. Here you can see some of the different types of resources. Video, audio would be things like podcasts. We have some really cool dramatic readings of primary sources, things like that are going to be audio. Interactives will be games, labs, simulations, anything a student will have to manipulate, click through, type in an answer, a game. We create collections on hundreds of different SOL strands. So before creating one yourself, we always recommend maybe searching and filtering by collection to see if we've already done that before you do. Curated collections are already changing out, but of course it is Native American Heritage Month. We did have a Veterans Day collection. I was at the Civic Summit yesterday in Richmond, so we were highlighting, we have some brand new civics resources just within the past month. There have been 2 new series produced by PBS that we now have. One of them you see here, Compact Civics. These are minute-long civics lessons that have supplemental resources. They have discussion questions, extension ideas. So of course, not everyone teaches civics, but that's just an example of some of the content that we have here. News and events, and then we have featured resources. So you can see social studies, climate change in Virginia. This is a new course from our station, WHRO. What's the value of your name? Let's learn. And then Native American Heritage Month, Molly of Denali is a PBS kids show. So really great if you're looking for easy and fun and interesting ways to do Native American History Month with your elementary students. I was at the school librarian conference last week, and lots were saying, "Oh, we love to use Molly of Denali this month with our students," which I think is really fun. So that's just a general overview. I always recommend starting with a keyword search, but as we go on and talk about some of the different apps and EdTech tools, we will look more specifically at some different resources in eMediaVA as well. So why App Smash with digital media generally and with eMediaVA specifically? So just some things that research tells us. We have enhanced interactivity, and you're getting a little sneak peek of some of the tools we're going to look at. So you can combine eMediaVA or really digital media from any site that you like to use with Pear Deck, Nearpod for engaging interactive lessons. So it's going to be more hands-on. If our students have to manipulate or click through an app, studies show that they're way more likely to be engaged and pay attention to what's happening. And personalized learning really is the future of education and kind of where things are moving. So you can use tools like Edpuzzle to add quizzes and questions, using eMediaVA videos or YouTube videos for real-time feedback. Relatedly, creative assessment. So we're going to look at Gimkit for interactive content reviews. And then finally, streamline access. So quickly curate quality resources, find things really quickly that are high standard, that are approved to use in the state of Virginia, saving you time. And also, ideally, you're going to find something really great that your students will also love as well. Have you used with Lumio? I'm not familiar with Lumio. Are you, Janie?
Yes, I was just answering that question. I have used Lumio before. You could use eMediaVA with Lumio. It's not one of my regular go-to tools, so I don't do that often, but you certainly could.
Thank you. So I will hand it over to Janie, and we'll look at some specific tools with also some eMediaVA resources that might be new to you that you might want to use or share with fellow educators in your building. So Janie, take it away.
All righty. All right, give me 1 second. Someone decided to leaf blow right outside.
I couldn't hear anything if it makes you feel any better, but.
Okay, I apologize about that. I think that's how it goes. It's always all quiet until the second you start, teaching something, and then everyone starts leaf blowing and mowing their lawns. But okay, so we're gonna get into the app smashing part, and today I'm going to show you how I use eMediaVA with 5 of my favorite EdTech tools on the internet. So these all are free sites and tools, or at least have a free version. I don't pay for any of them. I use the free version of all of them. And I love using eMediaVA. I use it every day. I use it with teachers and with students. And we have some really great resources in there that Lindsay already mentioned to you. But sometimes it's fun to just grab those resources, pull them out of eMediaVA and throw them into a really fun tech tool to keep changing it up for your students and giving them that content that they need in different formats so that they don't get bored just looking at the same website or the same slides or whatever every single day, right? So I'm going to show you how I integrate these really great resources that I'm pulling from eMediaVA. And I am going to start with Pear Deck. Also, I will mention quick that I'm not going to be giving you deep tutorials today of any of these EdTech tools. I'm going to very briefly mention what they are. If you're unsure of any of these tools, you will have access to our slides later, like Lindsay mentioned. And the logos I have on the screens are all linked out to tutorials. So if you are kind of interested in Pear Deck, but you feel like you didn't learn enough about it today, you can always go to the tutorial later on your own time and check it out and how to use it a little more deeply. But we're kind of just going to skim these tools today, and I just want to show you, how I use them with my favorite resources. So Pear Deck is a Google Slide extension. When you have a Google Slide open, extensions are up here. It's free to add to your Google Slides. You create a normal Google slide, just like Lindsay and I did for this presentation. And then you get this toolbar over here on the right-hand side. And I'm going to go ahead and start a Pear Deck. You can do student paste so that you all can go through it on your own. Or you can do instructor paste, which I'm going to do.
Hey, Janie, my screen is still being shared, so I don't know if that matters. I think, right? No?
You can stop sharing your screen. I'm not sure what everyone sees. I think that's a new Zoom feature where more than one person can share their screen at a time. I don't know what everyone sees, honestly, but you can stop sharing yours because I'm sharing mine.
Okay, great.
All right. It says participants can now see your application. Okay, so maybe we're just looking at Lindsay's. I don't know, but here we are. Okay. All right, so you do not have to, you're not required, but if you want to, so that you can see what this looks like from the student side, you can go to joinpd.com and you can enter the code that I have up here on the screen. So while you're doing that, I went to eMediaVA and I found a really great resource about zoos and tigers. I'll show you that. You go back over here to that slide. Should zoos exist from above the noise? This is one of Lindsay's favorite series on eMediaVA, so I had to use one of these. It's a really great video. We're not going to watch the whole thing.
What's more wholesome than taking a trip to the zoo? You get to be up close and personal with some amazing animal that you.
So really great 5-minute resource. You can see the SOLs attached to it. It's something that we're allowed to download. It came from KQED. We can see all that really great information on it. So I see we have some of you connected. I'm going to go ahead and start class. And now on your device, whether you're on your phone, a tablet, a computer, you should be able to see what's on my screen. And because I did instructor pace, you shouldn't be able to go through this right now at your own pace. You're going to go through it at my pace as I click next through all of these slides. Move my screen up a little bit. Okay, I'm going to skip all of these slides that Lindsay already did and go to my Pear Deck slide. Perfect. All right. So now on your screen, you should be able to see this great Tiger resource that I found in eMediaVA. So what I did was through Pear Deck on that side toolbar, all I did was copy and paste the link from eMediaVA and I put it into Pear Deck, and now it's showing up on your screen, showing up on my screen. If you click on this Tiger, it should open a new tab on your device so that you can go watch this 5-minute video by yourself. Or if we were all in a group setting and I wanted to, I could just open it up on my screen and show it to you whole group. That depends on, what you're doing in class and how you want to go about your lesson. So we'll say that all of us have watched this video on our own devices at our own time. To get back to my Pear Deck, my Google Slide presentation on your phone, you are going to have to leave the tab you're in right now in eMediaVA, should zoos exist, and go back to the tab where my Pear Deck presentation is. So it's an easy switch over, but just so you don't get confused, if I'm moving along and your screen doesn't seem to, just go back to that last tab. So I also use Pear Deck to enter a question so that I can ask you both multiple choice questions, but also open-ended questions. And you may be wondering, where did I get these questions from? Did I create these questions myself? I did not. I could have, but in eMediaVA, most resources also have support materials right here underneath them. So in this case, I went down to the glossary. And it gave me this great list of a bunch of vocabulary words that were used throughout that Above the Noise zoo video and all of the definitions. So I just grabbed some information from here. I didn't have to come up with anything on my own. All I had to do was type it into my Pear Deck sidebar. So now I'm asking you, and I see I already have 3 responses. What is the illegal hunting of wild animals, usually for sellable parts such as fur or tusks? And you should be seeing multiple choice. You have some options there on your end. On my end as a teacher right now, I'm seeing the question. But if I go to show responses, I can see what all of you are answering. And I will have the ability with Pear Deck to go back to this later. So once we're finished with the lesson, I can go in and see who answered what, who's kind of got it, who's going to need a little more help on this one. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next question. I've got one more question for you about that zoo video we all watched. And this one is open-ended, so you can see what that looks like as well. Just heads up, I will be showing your responses, so, be appropriate. If you've ever visited a zoo, what was your impression of the animals there? Did they seem happy, sad, well taken care of? And I could add more instruction to this. I could say, write 2 paragraphs on this, or, whatever detail I wanted to. And this is a question that I came up with because I felt that this would be a really great discussion question to go along with that Above the Noise video that I found in eMediaVA. And I see a couple of responses already. And we see some mixed responses on that. And I think that this question and these answers based on that video we watched could promote some really great conversation in our classroom about, should zoos really exist? What are the pros? What are the cons? Can we make a list? Is there something we can do about it? How can we make that change, right? So you can go to eMediaVA, grab any resource you want, grab the link, put it into Pear Deck for all of your kiddos to see, and then use Pear Deck to start asking your kids questions. It's a really great, powerful resource and a great way to include eMedia resources as well. So I'm ending not my whole presentation, but I'm ending just the Pear Deck because we are finished with this session. I can name it something if I want to, zoos, so that when I'm going back later and looking for it, I can really easily find it. All right, that took me back to the beginning of my slides, so let me go back down a little bit. So that was Pear Deck. Again, it is an extension. You find those at the top of your Google Slides screen, right up here, extensions. Pear Deck is free. The version I use is free, at least. Really easy tool to use. All right, so now I'm going to move on to my next one, which is Edpuzzle. If you've never heard of Edpuzzle, again, there's a tutorial here for you to click on if you wanted to, but Edpuzzle is a free website that lets you search for videos, or you can upload videos that you already have saved on your device. And it lets you create stopping points within that video so you can ask your students some questions so they can't just scrub through the whole video and fast forward to the end, or skip the questions. It requires them to watch the video. It requires them to answer the questions. And then if all of our kids are watching these videos at their own pace, it gives you power as the teacher to go back to your dashboard and see how long they took on it. Did they get the answers right or wrong? Are they comprehending what they saw in that video? So again, I'm using all resources from eMedia today. So I found this great video resource in eMedia about polar and nonpolar molecules. So here it is. Again, we won't watch the whole thing, but this is a resource from Nova.
Soap's interesting because a soap molecule is a combination of two different types of molecules called polar and nonpolar. For example, water molecules are polar.
I gotta tell you a secret. It's been a long time since I learned about this, and I watched that whole video because I did not know the difference. And again, here, all the SOLs down here. We have a lot of really great support materials over here as well. So first and foremost, I'm not logged into eMediaVA right now, but if I did sign in, if I were logged in, I have the ability to download this video, and many eMediaVA videos are downloadable, and resources, not just videos. You can download a lot of these resources. So that's what I did. When I was logged in, I clicked on download right here next to this molecule video, and it downloaded right to my device, my MacBook that I'm on right now, and I saved it in a safe spot in my files on my computer. Then I went over, not Edpuzzle, I went over to edpuzzle.com, and I logged in with my Google account. Here we are. And there are all sorts of videos already done by other teachers in here you can search for, but in this case, I really wanted that specific molecule video that I found in eMedia because that covers the exact SOLs we're going over in class. So I'm going to go to my content, and to add that video that I downloaded from eMedia, I'm going to click on Add New at the top, upload a video, and then I'm just going to choose a file from my computer, and I'm going to go to where I saved that molecules video from eMedia and upload it right to my stuff in Edpuzzle. I'm not going to do that right now because sometimes when you upload a video in Edpuzzle, it takes a few minutes to load, and I don't want to waste any of our time. So I already have it uploaded. It's right here, Molecules Nova. So here's my video in Edpuzzle.
Soap's interesting because a soap molecule is a
And here's the cool part. I'm going to go edit this video, and I can add some questions in here. I can do a voiceover. I can cut out part of the video if there's part of it that does not pertain to what we're doing in the classroom, or I can add questions, which is what I mostly do. Multiple choice, open-ended, or just notes. Again, I could make up these questions if I wanted to, but I'm going to go back to eMediaVA because our handy dandy support materials have a nice list of discussion questions related to that video. So I don't actually have to make them up on my own. So what is the difference between polar and nonpolar molecules? Why is it hard to clean greasy hands with only water? Let's head back to our Edpuzzle tab.
Soap's interesting because a soap at negative oil molecule made up of carbon and hydrogen.
So right here, we're going to pretend I watched this whole thing. And I didn't just fast forward like I tell my kids not to. Right here is where it's talking about washing your hands and trying to get all of the grease off with and without soap, right? So I'm going to add an open-ended question right here. And I'm going to take that question that I saw in eMediaVA in the discussion question support material that I found. Why is it hard to wash oil or grease off of hands without soap? And I can add in links and images and change my text a little bit if I want to. I can allow my students to do audio responses. I'm going to save that. Okay. So I have two questions. I already added one previously, and then I have the one that I just added. I'm going to finish this. And now that I have some questions in my video, I'm going to go ahead and assign it to a class that I already created in Edpuzzle. Not going to show you how to do that today, but it's a really easy process and it's in the tutorial. But what I will do is I will grab a preview for you and I will throw it in the chat. So if you want to, you can go ahead and take a look at that preview and what it would look like from a student's point of view. You don't have to, but if you're interested to see, it's going to make you stop at those question points, and it's going to force a student to answer those questions before they can continue on in the video, which is really nice. And then, as I mentioned, over in your, teacher dashboard, you're able to go in and see all of the answers that your student gave. It gives you a good little assessment on them to see who's got it thumbs up and who's maybe going to need a little more time with this topic or some one-on-one time, right? Okay. So moving right along here.
Janie, we have a question. Do you
Yeah.
like Edpuzzle better than Nearpod? Nearpod seems similar.
We are going to get to Nearpod next. I think as an overall tool, I like Nearpod better. I think for this specific task, for having kiddos watch videos and answer questions and nothing else, I like Edpuzzle better. It's a little bit simpler to use, both for the teacher creating it and the kiddos using it. It has less options. Sometimes easier is more. It also has all of those really great videos in it in the Discover section over here that you can just search for without having to bring anything in. So I would say I like them both for different reasons. That makes sense. And thank you for letting me know there's a question in the chat. I have it hidden so I can see my whole screen. Okay. So moving right along to the next one. Gimkit. Gimkit is a website that allows you to gamify what you and your students are discussing and going over in class. Cool thing about Gimkit is that it was created by a high schooler, which is really awesome. And it's really come a long way since he first created it. And his goal was to make learning more fun. So if a kiddo created this site, then we know it's built for kids and kids are going to enjoy it, right? So here's the eMediaVA resource that I found that I wanted to smash with Gimkit. This is a lesson plan. So we're moving on from videos. I wanted to show you not just how I use videos with all these sites, but all different types of resources in eMedia. So this one's actually a document. It's a lesson plan I found in eMedia. is for math and arts. It's a geometry lesson that incorporates art into, different shapes as well. And it's a great lesson. It has objectives and, hands-on activities and all sorts of great stuff as you scroll through. So as I was scrolling through this lesson, I noticed that in the, what section was that? Was it learning objectives? Nope, it was in learning activities. Here we go. It listed all the different shapes that kiddos need to know, like cube, box, cone, sphere, square, circle, triangle. And it notes that they have to know the difference between a 2-dimensional and a 3-dimensional shape, right? So I figured, why not use Gimkit, this really great game site, to get my students some exposure to these different types of shapes, both 2D and 3D. Also gives me a chance to check in on them. So this is assuming I would go teach this whole lesson in class, and then afterwards I would use Gimkit for my kids to go get some hands-on practice on their own, but still with the ability for me to kind of come in and check on them, right? So let's head over to gimkit.com. All right. So to create a fun little game in here, first you just have to add your information in. So move my stuff around. I'm going to create new kit, call it something, and say sample shapes, English, or whatever language it is that you're using. This one is math. I can, I don't know, use a photo. And I can start adding questions. I can add them by hand, which I did in this case. I can import them from a spreadsheet if I have them saved somewhere else, really great. So let's add a question. What is a circle? I don't know, round, square. Obviously, your questions would look better than this. You can add photos, audio, equations, and then add as many questions as you want to. I'm not going to make you sit through the creation of this whole thing. I have one finished for us already on 2D and 3D shapes. Again, I already taught that lesson in class from eMedia, and now I'm using the information from that lesson in this Gimkit game for my kids to get a little extra understanding. So we'll play this game for like just a minute so that, again, you can kind of see what it looks like on the student side. We can play it all together as a group, which we're going to do right now, or you can assign it to your students for them to play on their own time. And what a great option for like homework, by the way, so you're not just assigning worksheets. How cool would it be to assign a game, rather than that? So we'll play this game just for 1 minute, maybe 2 minutes, 1 minute. All right, 2 is my limit, so that's fine. So all of you, if you've got a device, again, you don't have to, but if you want to join into our game, you can go to gimkit.com/join. And here's the code for our game. I'll start this shortly here. And don't worry, if you are late to joining our game, that's fine. The code will still be up on the screen even after we start our round. If you hover over it, it shows a QR code. Look at that. Oh, there it is. There you go. So smart. Looks like some of you are using this already, which I love. I actually use Blookit a lot too, and lately people have been telling me that I should check out Gimkit, so I've been using this a little bit. And again, I like them both for different reasons. Honestly, I think I'm more of a Blookit person, but I don't know. I'm kind of digging this one too, and so are teachers. All right, so I'm going to get this started, but you can still join even if you're a little bit late. So I'm going to answer some questions. Oh, someone hit me. Which shape is shown in the image? Square. Gave me more energy. rectangle. Ah, so now I can start shooting fireballs. And I'm using my arrow keys to move around. Oh gosh, I fell off. Gotcha. I knocked out Jackie. We have about 25 seconds left in our game. Remember to get more firepower, whatever you call it. You answer questions in the bottom corner. All right. And our time is up on our game. So as you can see, we had a little bit of fun there. I'm first. Woo! I don't think I've ever come first in this before. But as you can see, really fun alternative to make sure we assess our kids and know that they know their shapes rather than just, holding up those foam cubes that we all had in class and saying, what's this one? Square. This is much more fun, right? I would rather do this than look at the foam shapes in class and hold them up. So I'm probably going to have time to show you about one more tool. And we'll go ahead and use Nearpod because this is a really powerful one and we only have a few minutes left. So the resource I used for this in eMediaVA is some resources from our environmental science course. Lindsay mentioned very, very briefly earlier that WHRO creates a variety of online courses and environmental science happens to be one of them. And the cool thing is that all of the resources from those courses are put into eMediaVA. So I went to eMediaVA, found the environmental science course just by searching environmental science, WHRO, and I turned it into a Nearpod with all sorts of cool different things in it. So all the stuff I'm going to show you, we'll do live participation, came from eMedia. I did not make any of this up. I did not have to go searching the internet. If you want to look from the student standpoint, you can join.nearpod.com and enter our code. You don't have to, but if you'd like to, you can. And I'll go through my slides very quickly here and show you all of the different options that Nearpod gives you. I'm sure many of you are using this already, but I'll show you all the different ways that I included those eMedia resources in here. So again, if you didn't catch that code, no worries. It's going to be up here the whole time as well. All right. So I did a teacher paced lesson, I believe. So your screen that you're looking at on your phone or whatever should move as I move mine. All right. So do you think wildlife in Tidewater region is currently at risk? Just like Pear Deck, I can ask you some questions in here, and this one's more of an opinion. Yes, no, I don't know enough about this topic. This is just giving me some background information about my students who are in my lesson. I'm going to go through these pretty quickly. Here's a video I included, again, from eMediaVA. I downloaded it and put it right into Nearpod. I can let you all watch it on your own, or I can play it on my big screen here.
On the East Coast, the Chesapeake Bay.
And then this is a learning object, an interactive one that I grabbed from eMedia that you would go ahead and click through on your own devices. It has all sorts of text and other great stuff in it. And then I kind of did a little like mini choice board in here as well. All three of these are environmental resources from eMedia, from environmental science, and you would have the opportunity to choose the one that you want. And then at the very end, I would ask you a question: which one did you choose and why did you choose it? So I know that was kind of quick. We went through that. My last one was quizzes, which I'm sure a lot of you have used as well. Very simple. I just grabbed a resource from eMedia and I grabbed discussion questions from the support materials and I put them in a fun quizzes game. But we don't want to keep you past time. We'll stick around for a few minutes in case you have questions or anything like that. I'm going to grab the link to our slides and put it in the chat here in a second. But we thank you for joining us tonight, and reach out to us with any questions you have after tonight. I have a QR code here where you can sign up for our next webinar. We're going to do another similar one to this one tonight, except all of the tech tools we're going to app smash with for that one are going to be AI tools. So school AI, Magic School, all that fun stuff, AI only. And that's going to be in the first week of December. So feel free to sign up for that. And let me go ahead and grab our link so I can share it with you.
So thank you again. And like Janie said, we'll hang out for a couple of minutes, but if you don't have any questions, you can go ahead and jump off. And again, we will send out the recording and the slide deck and also a certificate tomorrow. So thank you. Have a good evening.
All right, that link for our slides is in the chat.